Hi, welcome back to Renee Ruth Real Estate. Hope everyone is well. Renee, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Fabulous. The fact that we're in summer now, apparently. Even
We
though
love
it's
talking about the weather on this.
still February, and I'm in a t-shirt.
Yesterday was like, I know, right? Look at me. I'm always a little colder. It's cold in here.
It's a little bit cold in here.
No, but it was wild because yesterday was like, it was a bathing suit in the
like
mountains
82.
at like catching a tan. I had to like go get sunscreen. I was like, the sun
At the
feels
end
really
of February. I don't understand.
Yeah, mental.
Don't understand.
But we enjoy that. We enjoy the roller coaster of seasons.
We do.
It's a fun. I like roller coasters. So.
Just requires more closets.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah,
you don't know what you're going to need.
Yeah, because you don't have time to rotate them anymore. You can be back and forth to it. Yeah.
Back and forth all the time.
All day.
I did something yesterday.
What'd you do?
Never done this before. Okay, so last time we talked about lead generation, all the things you can do to attract more business and clients and all that. One of the things that we talked about was door knocking.
Yeah. Did you go to? Oh yeah, you did. Oh my gosh.
I knocked on a door yesterday. I knocked on the door yesterday. So
How much? Okay, wait. Like rewind. So how much courage? Because he casually told me he did this, and I haven't been processing. So I like low key took the last 2 days off, and this is actually kind of the first time we just caught back up like an hour ago. But you texted me this like yesterday. I'm like, what? And so then I had like 1,000 questions, but I'm relaxing. So I'm like, save it for later. So here, now you get to podcast people.
Yeah.
When you listen to this. Okay, so talk about this. So like, walk us through like your mental, like the process.
So the story is that there's a house 3 doors down from Renee that I really want. It's a beautiful house, and I've decided that that's going to be my house. I want it. It's just going to happen. I don't know when it was going to happen. So, and it was funny because then last week we were talking about knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? We've also learned that if you never ask, the answer is always no. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go ask. Let's just go have a conversation. So that's what I did. So I went up and I knocked on the door, and it ended up, it wasn't the owners. It was the dog walker that was there, which I didn't know until after I'd already gotten into the conversation. I was like, oh my gosh, I love your house. I said, it's beautiful. I said, my best friend lives 3 doors down, and I really want this house. So
she's probably like that.
She's like,
it's not hers.
My house. But she's like, but you're not wrong. It's a great house.
You're like, I'm also not saying.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I said, just let them know. I said, I really love this house. If they ever decide they want to sell, they have a buyer. And I gave them one of your pins. And I said, my best friend's also a realtor, 3 doors down. Call her if you decide to sell.
Yeah, first, please.
So, and let me know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we planted the seeds. Okay, that's the story. Okay, now let's go into like the emotional. Or was it not challenging for you because it's what you really want? Like,
yeah, I mean, there was nothing.
Hesitation.
No, because literally I would have done it weeks ago, but I never, their car was never there. So I never knew if they were home or not.
Yeah.
So it happened, I was out walking Joshua, and I saw someone pulling in. I was like, ooh, there's my opportunity. Let's go knock on that door. So no, it was no, and I don't know if it's just because I've been in retail and customer service forever that I will have a conversation with anybody.
Doesn't bother you.
Like, does not bother me at all.
Be a great agent.
So I was like, sure. I was like, let's just have a conversation. But what I thought was really cool about it was because then she started to go into their story of being in the house, that they were downsizing and they bought it 2 years ago, and that's why. But she's really sure what they're doing next or what the plan is. So what I thought was cool about it was just the fact that I was like, I just had a conversation about someone's story. I learned a little bit more about them.
Yeah. She
knew a little bit more about me. I was like, that's all it is. It's just having conversations
and see how we can help each other do life. And that's actually how I felt when I was at the homestead. It's funny because like quick sidebar, I was at the homestead and they're doing renovations. So like the realtor in me is like, when they talked about like, what are they gonna do? Because it's a historic property, 1700, America's oldest resort. And I'm looking at the things I loved about it, which was the quirky, like pink and green carpet and the yellow walls and the like all the weirdness of it. But it wasn't weird because that was a period thing.
Right.
And thinking like, oh, are they going to bring it into this century or are they going to honor? And they decided to bring it into this century. And I told her it was like walking into like a black and white movie. I was like, all the color just got sucked out of the place because right now black and white is like on trend. And I'm like, I wonder when we'll be like looking back, being like, that was so drab. Like, because you realize that like the 70s looked at the, the black and white era and like that's so boring. Now we're in color, like now we're going out of color. I was like,
no, it's true. Well, I mean, like 80s and 90s are currently in trend, so I guess it takes about
20, 30 years to like
20, 30, yeah, so a little bit of time to kind of catch up. So maybe another 2 decades of like, okay, this is done.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Like that's also was my thought. Like that's a multi-billion-dollar because that's resort is massive. Like I overheard some guy walking by being like, yeah, we have 6 weeks to paint like 120 rooms.
Oh my God.
As a painter, I knew that would just be like, I don't know what their crew looks like, but that was what I actually overheard.
6
and I was like,
weeks.
yeah, 120.
That's a lot of rooms.
He's walking by and I'm listening to them because it was a lot of construction and chaos when I went.
Well, to be fair, I assume
it's more than one person.
Well, yeah, it's that, but it's also like colors have already been picked. Like everything's already been established.
The manual labor just
like they're just going in and just knocking it out. So yeah, I mean, it still would have to be a decent crew, but yeah, it's doable.
It's wild. Like I was in there. There's this beautiful room that's like it's called the Crystal Room, and they have all these windows that go inside. And so they literally remove these old because they are thankfully keeping the original glass that like glass that doesn't quite look right. And so like the funhouse glass. Yeah. And so I took those out, and then they have them like basically bagged. This big, and the guys in the morning, they had it open this morning, and they were taking all the wood rot because like just over time, like the casings for these doors have just disintegrated. So you're watching them like strip that and like redo it, and so the entire thing is just getting a massive overhaul. So it was just funny, but to go back to stories, like that place has so many stories.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Every person I met had stories, and like I have just always loved to get people to talk about themselves. So I think that's why real estate worked for me, because I like to hear about other people.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, that's so much of what it is. Yeah. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what their story is at that time. Like you had people that have come back to you 6 months later because their story changed. So I mean, that's fast. The thing. Yeah. So you just never know.
No, and it's just it's being able to strike up that conversation. Yeah. And then keep that conversation going, which is the powerful thing. But yeah, so he did one of the hardest things in real estate.
It wasn't so hard.
It wasn't so bad. People should get out and do that. Actually, somebody gave me a statistic. Who did this? Oh, Cameron, were you listening?
Oh yeah, I was on the call with you.
That like, you know, most of the places now, thanks to technology, have the Ring doorbell, the Nest doorbell. So when you go up and ring, they just look at their and they don't answer. Like, I don't know who that is.
Oh my gosh!
I wonder how the Jehovah's Witnesses do it, because they're like tasked to go knock on doors.
I wonder if they talk to the Ring.
That's because that's what I said. I'm like, you should talk to the Ring. You're like, hey, like I get it. You're not answering your door.
It gets recorded, right?
It does.
Yeah. So yeah, why not?
And as humans, we're instinctively curious. If someone started talking to our doorbell, we'd be like, what were they saying? And then somebody might be impressed that you actually like took the time to stay. Like, imagine watching that person, like you're walking down and the guy's talking to a door.
Right. It's like a video voicemail. You know, there we go.
Yeah. Like,
I love
hey,
that.
I was like, I know you're not home. Thought I'd leave a message.
That's a really great idea.
Thank you.
I love that.
I was like, look, and that's the thing. So he was expressing the challenge he had, and immediately, like, that's the other thing that will differentiate you as you go into problem solving. So I'm like, okay, so they're not coming because they, you know, the Ring doorbell, then talk to it.
Yeah.
And then if they talk back, you can have it's like a phone call.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
You can't see them, but like, you know how you can talk back.
Right.
Oh, thanks. We're not interested in selling. No worries. I'm going to stick my card here just in case you ever change your mind.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I literally had a painting client who was out of town and talked to me on his Ring.
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
No, I've done it. Like when they've showed up and they've like.
He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm trying to get in your house. He's like, I'm not home. I'm like, well, can you please unlock it? I cannot find the key.
I'm not home. You're like, I know.
I know. That's why I am trying to get in your house.
Get in.
Oh, it was so funny. Technology, so great. So today, I made my own list.
He has graduated from like
adopting
lists to creating lists.
I love a list. Yeah. So it was based off the story that I just told, kind of just talking, you know, like what I did is so much of what real estate is. Like it's just investing in people, just having that conversation. And so I thought today we would talk about 4 things what real estate is, and then you can talk about how you agree with it or what you think, and if I've missed anything.
Okay, I'm ready.
So real estate is, and here's the 4 things. Okay, so the first one is customer service. Real estate is customer service.
Oh, well, I feel like you could let me talk about this, but right? Chad, as somebody that's been in customer service for the last 15 years, and then I dragged, no, that's not true. You asked to come into this, and I think I dragged you into all of it. You asked to just kind of be an assistant. I was like, no, you're going to be a part of the whole mentalness. Yeah. So as someone who's been, so for example, and this might appeal to someone who's like, I'm not satisfied with the customer service job I'm in. How do you feel like, I'm flipping the script on you. You tell me how customer service actually is, like, how is this field customer service?
Well, I mean, okay, so in customer service, like literally, if I was working at a clothing store, they had a need, and they had a need that I could fill. So like they were coming in to buy clothes. So my job was to then help them find them. So I had to find out what they were looking for. I had to find out why they were looking for it. Like what was going on in their life. What was their story?
Yeah.
And so
to bring them in.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, so you came in because you're going to have a big dinner to go to, or you're coming in because you're going to be a guest at, a wedding or whatever. So they came in with a story. So I had to figure out, okay, based off of that and what was going on in their life, how can I help them reach their goal?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's just a very, quick one, but that's exactly the same thing as real estate. They're coming in, they have a story. What are they doing? What is happening in their life? And how can you find them a house that's going to suit their needs?
Yeah. And so in customer service, what was the thing that made you were good at it? So what made you excel in customer service in ways that other people might have struggled?
Because for me, I love people and I love helping people. And I feel like so often people that get these jobs, it's just a job. Yeah. They really do not care about it. Like they're just there to collect a paycheck and go home. Where I really wanted to invest in the people. I mean, and I guess kind of in a way I was selling myself.
Yeah.
As far as like, this is what I can do for you and this is why. And those people always came back.
Yeah.
Like I literally, I remember at one store that I worked at, like I literally had people that would not shop if I wasn't there. Like they literally came in like, is Chad here? Like, no.
I will say there were mornings when I would go into Starbucks and he was in there and I was like, because I would be like looking forward to like the hi, and we'd be like, hi. We have like this whole long conversation. So yeah, I think that is actually probably something that's really powerful in, I would say, I'd venture to say many vocations, unless you're dealing like with petri dishes in a science lab, like you don't need to care about people at all.
Right.
I guess to some level you do, because if you're in there, you're trying to maybe help humanity. But yeah, like, so in real estate, it's not dissimilar. So when you are like, the customer service side of it is like if you're in this job for $1, which a lot of people come to real estate because they see high dollars,
right.
You're going to struggle. Because it's kind of like I always made this comparison to the agents. I'm like, look, if you're chasing down people so hard because you want to try and make $1, I was like, it's like the guy that's like after the girl. And like, if he would have just calmed down and like, just casually gone over and be like, hey, how's your day? Like, instead of being like aggressive and like, and she's like, I'm leaving. Like, it's so awkward. Like, it's, it's the same principle. Like, if you go after clients that way, they're going to feel.
Well, I mean, there's a store at, not our mall currently, but there's a store in the mall where it was all like commission based, and they would like chase you around the store.
Like you won't even go in it because you're like,
I won't even shop there because I just don't want to deal with it. So yeah,
if you're an agent, listen to this. Stop chasing people.
Yeah, don't be so aggressive.
And I think too, like so when you were in retail, like you made that retail comparison, in clothing specifically. Yeah. When you're in there, if someone came in, if you were like, whoop, like, I mean, like, so I'm pretty sure when someone came in, you probably said hi and then just kept it going on your, like, because if someone needs your assistance, they will come and ask you, right? Like,
right. Well, and that's what I think and that's why I know that the jobs that asked me to do that more, to be like so aggressive, I knew it didn't feel right because I was like, there's a huge disconnect because it was forced.
Yeah.
Whereas if they had just let me do it myself, it would have been so natural that it would have been flow, there would have been a conversation.
Yeah.
But that pressure to be like, oh, jump on them and sell them something. I'm like, no, it'll happen if it's going to happen.
And that's the mentality that like probably how I made quantum leaps in real estate was because I became okay. Like I didn't have to have every person. Like it was, I feel like, and we are commission based only.
Yeah.
So that feeling to like, I need every single one. You don't, what you need to do is find the ones that need you.
Yeah.
And then you'll help them and then be okay with like, not everyone needs you. Like right. They might need someone else. And that is so okay. Like I just, it's, and I've always looked back even in my personal experience when you look at, when you talk about customer service, when I've done my job and that person was still either aggressive or difficult or challenging. And I look back, I'm like, usually it was like, I more forced that relationship versus allowed that relationship. So like I probably wouldn't have ever worked with them if I hadn't pushed hard enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
All my super challenged relationships were ones that not all the time, but a lot of them were ones that I had like pushed for. Like,
right.
No, let's do this together. Like, you know what I mean? Instead of just letting things happen and flow right. And like, So avoid the stress. Don't push anything.
No, absolutely. All right, the next one is real estate is talk therapy.
That's like our podcast.
Don't we know that?
Our podcasts are for us. Right. We were just saying today, we're like our one watcher. Thank you, one watcher. Whoever you are, the one. Thank you for that view.
Yeah.
This is for us.
This is for us. We love it.
We enjoy this.
Well, because like we had just said, you're getting to know someone's story.
Yeah.
And we know that, I know from the last year and a half, some of those stories can be very intense.
Yeah.
And very emotional. I mean, especially when there's because buying a house is a big thing. So when you also have huge other life situations happening
simultaneously,
that is a lot it's a lot for anyone to deal with. And when you're going from that into now buying a house, which is also a huge thing, like, I mean, just explosions.
Did you say talk therapy? Is that our point?
Talk therapy. Yeah, talk therapy.
I like the word therapy because as realtors, we're almost always therapists.
Right.
Like, I literally, I've had maybe 2 pragmatic purchases. And by that, I mean someone's very calculated. Like, I have a job. This is the house I want. Like, not that it was emotionless, but literally it was just like, it was just a contract. It was
just a transaction.
Thank you. Yeah. It was just a transaction. There was literally no emotion attached.
Like they came in to buy socks.
Yes, and money mattered, right. But there was, but most of the time it's like there's an incredible amount of emotion, like, and it's usually because we've said this in previous podcasts, like there's a loss or a gain or a or a shift or a change, and that's precipitated the move,
right?
And especially if that change wasn't one they chose.
No, that's a good point.
Like illness or loss of, like, often we don't choose the losses, right. So any of the losses that come, so those tend to be like the even more heavier, and so you end up having, it's not, it's coaching them through so many of these emotions, and then being able to kind of field, as they come at you and recognize that, like, this, it's not usually about you. Like it's not usually, if they're upset or aggressive, it's usually got to do with their situation, and learning to not, 1, take anything personally, and 2, carry that. Because I mean, I didn't go into psychology for a reason.
Fair.
Like full-time psychology, like talking people's problems 24/7, because it's just, I carry that, and real estate let me, because of the job that it is, it lets me kind of shelve. One of the great things that I got told recently was, like, you should look at everything that you do in your life. And I think, Chad, you do this instinctively. And I was thinking about you yesterday when I was pondering this idea, but that you need to take life and you need to put it in a box and shelve it, right? So everything you do in your life, like everything you're handling, so each deal that you have or each relationship that you have, it has a box. And so, like, you put every box is on the shelf when you go to sleep. And then in the morning, you decide which box you're going to pull down. And they can't talk until they come off the shelf.
I have a lot of boxes.
So like in compartmentalizing like that, and women tend to struggle with compartmentalizing, but in doing this, I think that it helps you maintain sanity.
Yeah.
Because you're not carrying each thing throughout, because it can be a lot.
Right. It's not just a cluttered room, like everything
of stuff that's yelling at you.
Right. No, it's and
that makes it sound like this is such a difficult. It's not that. It's just like it can be a lot of emotion. Yeah. And so the talk therapy isn't just between clients. It's like, because we work together, we've partnered on stuff. I'll see him in the morning, and be like, "Are you ready for this?" And like then we have our own little therapy session, right? Like, can you believe blah 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 blah. And it's like, and I always say to him, I'm like, just when I think I've seen it all,
right?
Here comes something new.
It could be, what is this? It could be such an emotional. No, I mean, it's a lot of emotions. It's a lot to work through. So, and I mean, you're on the receiving end of so much of it.
Yeah, and sometimes we just have to laugh.
Yeah, you do. It's so true.
We just giggle. We're like, okay, whatever.
It's fine. It's fine.
Moving along. So yeah, talk therapy on all sides.
On all sides. Real estate is analytics. Getting down to like all the numbers of it, like you have the area, the market, the comps, the affordability, the resale. Like that's where it's kind of like you kind of have to deal with all the numbers.
There is a very large mathematical component, which is so funny because I don't love math. Though I was really good at it in high school, I'm just never. Numbers and I don't hang out much.
Yeah.
They're too black and white for me. I like to be gray. So I like to be gray. Yeah. I like to be gray. No, my soul is right.
Right.
But yeah, so I, when you go to list, you go to buy, and funny, like we just came out of the pandemic, which was less about numbers and more about being crafty to win.
Right.
So like the numbers were like, how do we make what numbers you have appealing enough to get it? We're still in our area in a seller's market. And because the world is like this, people coming in, especially from out of the area, don't understand that we are. And so they want comps ran and this. And I'm like, look, I can run comps for you all day, but there's probably 30 houses on the market right now. So the seller can just sit and wait. Like, so I'm like, and then also if you're getting an appraisal, because we're in a seller's market, I'm like, you really are just going to have to lean on, like, we can throw a number, but you're going to have to lean on that appraiser to make sure you're not overpaying still. Like now in a buyer's market, you'll be doing so much more of that crunching, right? Because you're trying to see how you can talk them down because there is more of that back and forth.
Right.
But I'm still in bidding wars right now. I'm still losing bidding wars right now sometimes.
It's so crazy that it's back to that.
And back is the right word. It's like I said that in the meeting on Monday. I was like, when did it switch back to this? Like I'm showing houses with 10 other agents. Like what?
Yeah, like showing times and having to like coordinate schedules
and like just piggybacking showings and watching agents who are nice to each other and ones who are like, I showed up at a house and this one agent was like, you can't come in. And then now maybe the client felt that way, but then the other agent and I were standing outside. We're like, okay. So we're like, there's like 10 of us in the lawn. And like, she looked at me and she's like, she was there first and she looked at me, she goes, you can come in with us. I was like, thank you. I was like, we'll go in a different direction. It was so mental.
Wow, that's so insane.
Yeah, it's so mental. It's just it's a ride, right? So we're just outside cracking jokes, like, well, we're back in some kind of a pandemic moment right now, like whatever that is.
No, but yeah, so, I mean, you're like really almost having to coach them through, like to understand on either side of it, they're buying or selling. Yeah. Like, is this a good option? Is this going to work for us? How does this make sense? What's the area like?
You got to want to develop strong problem solving skills and thinking outside the box. Like you have to want to, it's like, here's the situation. How many ways can you come at it? Right. And then finding the best way and getting people to move in that direction. Like that's got to be something that you instinctively do, or it's going to be really difficult to kind of make this job work. So,
yeah. Well, the last one is very obvious, but real estate is sales. And I say that from like writing the contract to taking them all the way to closing, like the whole process, start to finish.
You're selling so many ideas. You're selling them on this. You're selling and it's funny because I was a university professor first. Well, many odd jobs, but that would probably be like what would have been my primary job for like 15 years. And I used to always tell people, I was like, though I have a captive audience, and by captive, I mean like they paid to come. They they have to listen to me, but they don't have to listen to me because listening is active. I think many people just heard
right.
for an entire semester. Wah, wah, wah. So I know they retain some stuff, but like, yeah, it's, but I remembered, and I said this to other teachers, like, because there's, the classic like professor that just is writing on the board and talking and thinking that these students are just like furiously like, and realizing that kind of archaic approach to teaching, 20 years ago when I started was like, that doesn't work. Like I had to sell them on yes, I know you chose this class, but I had to sell them every day on why they should listen. And I was almost, because I was a public speaking instructor and persuasive speaking was one of the entire chapters.
Right.
I'm like, I am persuading you on a daily basis to listen for it was anywhere from 50 minutes to 3 hours, depending on what the class structure was. I'm teaching you and I'm persuading you to participate, through this entire thing. So I think because of my approach to teaching and that idea of selling, even in that capacity, I was primed to kind of move into this market. Cause like, really, I think that's a skill set that trend, moves across vocations.
Right.
And it's, I think teachers would do well to like look at their position as empowering, persuading them to care, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm persuading people I educate buyers and sellers and work to persuade them to make the best choices, the smartest choices, the wisest choices that they're capable of making.
Right.
That I don't have to command their attention. They usually come willing to some degree to listen. But it's still sales. Like it's sales. But even in retail, that's sales.
Totally sales. Yeah. It's still the fact that they need something and you're helping them figure out what it is.
Yeah, meeting a need. And I really think at the end of the day, that's what humanity's here to do. Like if you aren't living your life in search of ways to help other humans and beings around you accomplish and achieve things, then you're kind of missing the mark. Right. You're missing the reason. And once you kind of accept that and move into that space, and things just start to blossom. So that's my thought, though.
Okay. Was there anything I missed?
I don't think so. That was a fun little
good list. Yeah, wasn't that great?
I
love that.
He's gonna start a blog later.
Right. Stay tuned.
We're gonna find 72 ways to be like putting content out that we listen to.
That's right.
And we watch later and laugh at.
That's right. You want to do fun facts?
I love it. Do you ask that question?
I really don't.
I don't know. It's a bit.
Do
they want to do a fun fact?
Do you guys want to do
all
fun
one
facts?
of you? Do you?
It's a good fun fact.
Fun Fact Friday.
Fun Fact Friday. All right. I already knew this fun fact.
Do I?
You likely did not know this fun fact.
Oh, okay.
So, if you're looking for a scenic place to live, you might consider Vermont, Hawaii, Alaska, or Maine. Do you know why?
Hold on. Vermont, Hawaii, Alaska, or Maine. Mm-hmm. 2 are on the East Coast and the North. 1's on the West Coast. Is it oceans?
Nope.
Is it only one's got a volcano? Is it? I don't know.
No. So these states have banned all outdoor advertising billboards to preserve the natural beauty.
Yeah, there is no way.
You are not going to get that one. I only knew because we lived in Vermont.
Right. Well, so when you said Vermont, I was like, okay, you are. Okay, but did you also know, is it Florida or was someone like in that vein where they wouldn't allow signage to be any higher so it wouldn't obstruct?
Oh, interesting.
I want to say it's Florida. There's a state where all the signage has to be building height.
Right.
So as not to pollute.
I would have kind of like this, and to have that skyline
because like
clear.
If you drive down up 81, like I'm going back to Canada, it's just they run those up a freaking flagpole
everywhere.
Yeah,
it's
so like
crazy.
You look out, you just see all the little signs. Although when you're driving, it's tough. I'm like, oh, the shell's way up there. That's what I found. Actually, I was like, when they lowered them, I'm like, I can't see where anything is.
I know. I was like, say, well,
maybe Williamsburg does that. Oh, it might be city based.
It could be, but yeah, I was like, it was really nice not having any of that up there.
Oh,
there were no billboards. Oh my gosh,
it's so like, oh yeah, people yelling at you. So I won't put up a billboard.
Right? No, we just don't.
No,
we don't need
an
it.
Office.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for watching.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, all one of you.